Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today is going to be the update to the Cleave build, the Stamina Sorcerer for the Blackwood chapter. Now this has been used quite a lot in the past, but its main purpose of course is to still stick to the previous build idea, and that is to put out as much area of effect damage as possible depending on how many adds you have. So the more enemies in the fight, the more damage you will do, not just to single target but to all targets, as they all individually act like bombs. So if you want a very powerful area of effect setup that works really well in all content with a decent amount of single target but not over the top OP, then this is probably going to be for you, in which case stay tuned, it is all going to be explained. So first of all, we're going to go into the stats, get our two major buffs running, and that's pretty much it. 12.7k max magicka, 24.8k max health, and 33.7k max stamina. Just bear in mind, all of these stats will go up when you're in content, depending on what you've got in your group. 5.7k weapon damage, which will go much higher, 50% crit, and our recovery is sitting on 730 magicka, 551 health, and 2519 stam recovery, which is really high. Our stam recovery depends on our food as well. You can alter that if you want to. But bear in mind, if you do go with the recovery food, they don't have health attached to it, so you will be squishier. So that's something you must consider when altering your setup. Now, bear in mind, of course, that the crit chance, the weapon damage, and the recovery can all be slightly altered depending on the sets you use, which we'll get to later in the gear. In the meantime, of course, the resistances fell off. We are sitting on 18.8k resistances across the board. 64 points into stamina. Max health, max stamina food, unless you want stamina and recovery food, in which case less health. Bear in mind that, of course, that is important. And the Thief Mundustone. Now, if you are in a situation where you have all the buffs and bonuses applied, of course, the Thief is going to be great for you. But just if you're in a situation where you don't have all those nice penetration bonuses from your group, or perhaps you're even solo, then you may want to benefit from the Lover Mundustone instead, because especially in AOE situations where you're hitting multiple targets, even if one target's debuffed, the rest aren't, so you are hitting them all with a really nice pen bonus. But the choice is of course yours. Most of the time you want to go the Thief, but you can change to a Lover in some situations if you want. As far as weapon damage is concerned, I told you it goes a little bit higher. Well, it does. So if you consider minor brutality and major courage, plus our weapon glyph on the back bar, we are sitting on 7.4k weapon damage, which is quite high. Now, if you have powerful assault and minor courage, and then a couple other buffs and bonuses here and there, you can actually push that over, way over, in fact, 8k, especially if you've got Dawnbreaker running. So it's actually really helpful. And bear in mind, of course, there are two different major setup changes as far as one set is concerned, but it does alter the whole thing. And your weapon damage can be altered there as well, as can your crit. Your crit will actually go up to about 64% rather than it currently being on 56. Okay, now I'm going to get into the skills. I am going to explain these in detail, so I wouldn't advise you to skip it, but if you want to, it's entirely up to you. Bound Armaments is on both bars. We want to double bar this because while it's slotted, you get 8% increase to max stamina, and your light attacks deal more damage. You do not have to activate this skill ever if you don't want to. However, if you do choose to activate it, all you need to do is activate it once, and it will last for 40 seconds. It's a continuous buff. During that time, all light attacks that you apply will make a dagger appear above your head, a summoned dagger. And when you get to 4, you fire them all, and then you start again. Now, 4 is the cap. It can't go any more than that. So if you've got 4 stacked up and you keep hitting light attacks, you're not benefiting from that. If you fire it too early, that's not a problem. You will still fire the daggers you've accumulated, but to be more efficient, you want to get all 4. That is going to be in the more advanced version of the rotation. You don't have to use that part of it if you don't want to. You can just leave it on the bar. Now, this is in the Daedric Summoning skill line. It's the last ability you unlock. Starts off as Bound Armor, morph it to Bound Armaments. Next up, of course, is Trap Beast in the Fighter's Guild skill line. This you will need, and it will take you some time to unlock because you need Fighter's Guild 8, in fact, I think. 10 is for the Dawnbreaker. My bad. But it starts off as Trap Beast, morph it to Barbed Trap. Put this on the ground. It will do damage over time to a single target in the form of a bleed, which, yes, of course, can proc hemorrhage. And in the meantime, it will give you minor force increase in all of your crit damage. So this is very important for our overall crit damage output as a buff, but also it does do very nice single target damage over time, which will complement the sets we're using. Don't let that run out if you can help it. Next up is, of course, Carve. This is in the two-hander skill line. Third ability to unlock starts off as Cleave, morph it to Carve. This will hit all enemies in front of you for a single hit initially, a direct hit. All of them will get hit for the same amount unless they crit, of course, and it's a bleed hit as well. So what that means is, it doesn't mean that will give damage over time. It's a damage type. Bleed goes under shields. However, this does have a damage over time bleed attached to it as well, so every single target that you hit will be affected by damage over time. Remember, it's a 10-second dot, so if you are using the single target rotation, if you're up against one enemy, you apply this once every 10 seconds. That will be in a rotation. If you're against multiple targets, based on the weapon we're using, you're going to be spamming this instead. Now, if you're not spamming this, your main spamable is in fact Wreck and Blow, which is next. First ability to unlock in the two-hander skill line starts off as Uppercut, morph it to Wrecking Blow. Physical damage every almost 1 second, 0.8 of a second in fact. So light attack, hit, but bear in mind it is a channel. So you can't bar swap during the channel, and if you try to interrupt it with a block, it will just stop the skill completely. Also, every time you apply this, you'll be given Empower. Now, if you've already got Galloway in your group or something like that, then of course you've got your Empower covered, but if you don't, then your light attacks and heavy attacks within 3 seconds of firing this are stronger. And it does stack, of course, alongside bound armaments. So our lights are very, very important. So, in the basic rotation against a single target, you'll be using this once and then spamming this. The basic rotation in an AOE situation, you won't be using Wreck and Blow at all, and you'll be spamming this. But it depends. The more targets you've got, the more relevant that's going to be. We'll get to that when we get to the gear. And finally, on this bar, apart from the ultimate, is Reverse Slice. This is your execute. Yes, the other morph of this does do more single target damage, but we're built to be pushing as much area of effect damage as possible, so we can take down multiple targets at once. The more targets, the better. That is the design for the build. Don't be confused by that. Now, every time you hit the target you're up against, you will do more and more damage the lower their health, starting from 50% and under, and the damage you do will be transferred to surrounding targets, but you'll do 78% of the damage done. So you won't get the full effect, but you will still hit them very, very hard. Now, the point for this where it starts accelerating is, of course, at 50%. You get stronger and stronger and stronger, but what you really want to do is start hitting this around 30 to 25%. That's when it'll really start to peak. Anything before then, your spammables are going to do more. Anything after then, you're absolutely fine. So be patient, let the enemies go down to about 30% or so, and then start introducing this as your main spammable instead of these two. You can still maintain Carve once every rotation if you want to, but you want to use this for the rest of the fight. Flawless Dawnbreaker is on the bar for stats. There's a passive bonus to this that will give you weapon damage. That's the only reason it's there. However, if you are up against Undead, Daedra, or Werewolf, or the fight is almost over, or you just want that extra burst at weapon damage because you want to push your execute a little bit more, then you will get 300 weapon damage for doing so for 20 seconds, and it does do nice physical damage over time as well. It's very short durated damage over time, but it does count when it's really, really crucial, and it's the end of the fight and you don't have enough for your back bar ultimate. Double barred bound armaments, obviously we went over that. Make sure it's on both bars, get the buff on both bars. Nice and easy. Soul Splitting Trap can be used, or you can swap it out for something else. I would highly recommend you use this in most situations because it costs magicka, but it scales off of your highest offensive stats. Our highest offensive stat is stamina and weapon damage. So therefore, we get physical damage out of this. Use your magic bar, do physical damage, helps with your sustainability. Nice and easy. This will hit multiple targets, in fact, infinite amount of targets because there's no cap on it, and every single one of them will have a 10-second damage over time effect added to them. It's very important that we boost as much damage over time, not necessarily in strength, but as many different ticks of damage over time as we can with this particular setup. Now, if you want to, you can change this, of course, to Caltrops from the Assault skill line. Make sure you get Razor Caltrops, and this will do physical damage over time in the area of effect that it's in. So all targets can be hit by this, but only 6 of them will actually get a major breach debuff, which looks like it only lasts for 4 seconds. Technically, that's true, but every time they get hit with another tick of this, it restarts the timer. So while the damage over time lasts 10 seconds, the debuff actually lasts 14 if they maintain their position. Just bear in mind, again, of course, this is on the ground. Soul Trap is on the target. So if you're moving around a lot and the enemy's moving around a lot, the other one's better. This one can do a tiny, tiny bit more damage in a static fight, but it does cost a lot of stamina. So if you are struggling with your resources, you may as well not use it. Let someone else do the debuffing and you just apply this instead. Doesn't cost stamina. Very nice. Next is Hurricane. This is in our Storm Calling. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Storm Calling skill line. Nearly messed that up. Starts off as Lightning form, morph it to Hurricane. This does cost stamina, it lasts 15 seconds, and it gives you a major resolve bonus, which will give you physical and spell resistance. And, of course, it will give you minor expedition as well, which makes you faster. This will do physical damage every 1 second for 15, but every 5 seconds it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, increasing up to 150% more damage and up to 9 meters area of effect instead of 5. So it just gets bigger and bigger and does more and more damage as it goes. The most crucial point to this, of course, is the resistance buff and that it does damage every 1 second in area of effect. So what we've got here, if you haven't paid attention already, is damage over time per target, and the hit is area of effect, so all of them get their own bleed. Then we've got damage over time on single target here, area of effect from Hurricane, individual targets, multiples from this, and then we've got volley, which we're going to come up to in a moment. All of this is damage over time. It's really important that we stack as much of that as possible, and there's going to be more in the set as well. Crit Surge is up next, of course, before we get to that. This starts as Surge, morph it to Critical Surge. The other one is a heal for the group. Basically, every time you crit, once per second minimum, you will heal, and it's huge, and you can crit from it as well. Plus, it'll give you major brutality and sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage. Yes, we have weapon damage increased by our potion anyway, but the bonus itself is worth its weight in gold. It's absolutely insane. This is one of the most powerful skills in the game, in my opinion, as far as survival is concerned. Don't leave home without it. And of course, we've got Endless Hail. Oh, by the way, if you want to swap this out for Vigor, you can, but you're going to lose stats on the back bar. Just be aware. This is your main heal anyway. You just have to make sure you're hitting something. Volley is on the back bar. This is from the bow skill line. This is actually Volley first. Endless Hail is the morph we've chosen. If you choose Arrow Barrage, basically it lasts less time. Your rotation won't be as clean or as active. As far as the spamming is concerned, you'll have to stop a lot of your spammables. And also you'll have less ticks, which means your damage over time is going to be suffering, and your procs that we want from our sets are not going to go off as much as we want them to. So Endless Hail was better for a longer durated rotation and for more ticks. Yes, it does have a 2-second wind up, but when this lands, this will do physical damage and area of effect every 1 second to every single target caught inside. So if you see here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 if you count this one here on single target, 5 if you count this one as well. So you've got 5 damage over time effects. So you've got basically 5 ticks every 1 second at the moment. Other stuff can alter that, including sets and poisons. We're going to get to that when we get to the gear. Ulti on the back bar can be one of 2 options. You've got your Storm Atronach, which does hit every 1 second with shock damage. As a sorcerer, we get a bonus to that anyway. And people can take the synergy, increasing their damage output by 10% if they have major berserk, which is what this gives. It gives it to the pet, and it gives it to them. Only one person can take the synergy per cast, however. It's pretty strong. Use it in most situations if you want to, but if you want the extra damage over time in area of effect to make more explosions happen, Suppression Field. It does magic damage. It does scale actually quite well, even though our Magicka stats are so-so. But the main purpose of this, apart from its overall stun the whole room for 12 seconds, is those constant ticks of damage. They're very fast alongside the rest of the stuff we've got. That effectively would be 6 damage over time effects going off at once. That's 6 ticks per second. That is going to count. Now, we're going to go over the passives, then we're going to get to the gear, and then this will start making a bit more sense. So, this reduces the cost of all your abilities, whether they're health, magicka, or stamina. This will heal you if you use a dark magic ability. Technically, we're not using any unless we use Negate Bubble or Suppression Field even. But, I mean, if you want it, take it. It's not make or break either way. If you've got the spare skill points, that's going to heal you when it lands. If you don't worry about it. After blocking an attack, which you'll need to block sometimes, your next ability is cheaper. If you cast a dark magic ability, you give the group Minor Prophecy. Again, if we have Suppression Field fired, yes, that will give the group a crit bonus, but you're not going to be able to maintain that indefinitely because you'll have to build the ulti back again. So generally, most mag sorcs have one of these skills in their arsenal. They don't have to, but they could. And that will maintain that anyway, so you don't have to be the one to bring this, but just in case there's no sorcerers around, it's nice to fill the gap when you do drop that ulti. Daedric Summoning is quite simple. This will give you Magicka or Stamina back when your non-ultimate Daedric Summoning abilities ends. So basically the only ability we're using is Bound Armaments. If you use it, you're going to want this. If you don't, then you're not. If you just slot it and never use it, there's no point. This reduces the cost of ultis. Sure, you need that. Stam recovery and health recovery all the time, as long as you've got a Daedric Summoning ability slotted, which we do. One here and one here. Easy peasy. And finally, of course, increases your max health if you have a pet. We don't have a pet, and the ulti does not count. So this is a negative passive. Don't bother buying it. Storm Colton is very important. This increases your mag recovery. That is going to be useful, especially since we're using one Magicka costing skill and also a Magicka costing buff. This increases your physical and shock damage. So the Lightning Atronach is stronger, and all of your physical damage, which is pretty much all we're doing, will be stronger as well. This increases the damage done against enemies by 1% for every 10% current health they have. So this is a bit of a backwards execute. Instead of us having more power at execute, which we do because we've got an execute skill, we have more power up front. So our burst damage is incredibly high. We have the same flat damage as anybody else would have if they were built the same way, but this passive gives us a push. So 100% health, we do 10% more damage. 90% health, we do 9%, and so on and so forth, all the way down to 10%, doing 1% more damage. So either way, you'll always have a buff to your flat, but this is a reverse execute. It's big damage up front, lower damage at the end, but then we plug that with our execute here anyway. And of course, you get 2% spell damage and weapon damage for every sorcerer ability slotted. So there's 1 on the front bar, and there's actually 4 on the back. So on the back bar, we've got 8%. On the front bar, we've got 2. Don't worry, we actually have the same amount on both bars. So I'm going to skip ahead and go to Fighters Guild and explain why. Fighters Guild, we need this, of course, to reduce the cost of our Fighters Guild abilities. We are using Beast Trap. We don't want to get it down. And this will increase your weapon damage by 3% for each Fighters Guild ability slotted. As you can see here, we have 2, 1 there and 1 there. See, Flawless Dawnbreaker is a passive bonus. That means 6% here and 2% here is 8. We've got 8% on the front and we've got 8% on the back. And of course, since we're here, you will want Banish the Wicked, because if you kill anything with a Fighters Guild ability slotted, you'll get ultimate, and we will kill a lot of things, especially with our Area of Effect explosions, and any Fighters Guild abilities you use versus Undead, Daedra, or Werewolf will do more damage. Now, backtrack a little bit to where we were. Now into weapon skills. Two-hander, you want every single one of these. You can go through them in detail in your own time if you want, but basically you want every single one. They are going to benefit you no matter what. But this one, light attacks and heavy attacks do splash damage. We are using his sword. The sword gives you an increased 284 weapon damage and spell damage. Now, proc sets were buffed for people that want to benefit from them. So if you have low stats that the set requires, it will be weak. If you have high stat that it requires, it will be stronger than it ever was before. We are pushing weapon damage because our sets require weapon and spell damage to be higher. However, if you feel like you're in a really good place for that and your procs are doing just great, you can of course go for the mace. If you don't have enough pen in your group already, that can be very, very strong, especially in big AOE pulls, and also especially solo. So the choice is yours for weapons, but it's either sword or mace that you want to go with. So sword or maul. Now, again, some sets are boosted off of high resources, some are off of high weapon or spell damage, some are off of high health or resistances. If you spec specifically, never mind, for those, then your proc sets for you for deliberately pushing those stats were buffed. If you deliberately don't push those stats, then for you, yes, they're nerfed. The whole concept was not nerfed, it was balanced in favor of those that want to build a specific way. So now you have to think about it a bit more. That's all. This reduces stamina cost of two-handed abilities. This will give you a stronger direct hit after you do a heavy attack. And of course, stam recovery for getting kills. Every kill you get, you'll have stam recovery bonus for 10 seconds. We are using a bow, but only for endless hail, but you are going to want these passives. If you're at long range, of course, then you do get a boost to damage. So if you're in mechanics and you have to go out of the way, keep volley up, keep your light and heavy attacks up if you need to at range to keep up sets or just to keep up consistent damage, and you will do more. This increases your crit chance on the back bar. This will reduce the stamina cost of the skills because volley is quite expensive. Doing damage with a light attack or a heavy attack will give you 5% damage for 5 seconds for your bow abilities. That does carry over to the front bar, but it only lasts 5 seconds. Every consecutive light attack you do after that, or heavy, will add another 5% up to 5 times. So you can get a 25% bonus at max. Most of the time, in fact 99% of the time, we're not going to get the full benefit from it, but do make sure you weave in those light attacks because then you can still get a buff regardless. At big range mechanics, you might get full effect, but during the fight, most of the time, you'll get like 2 or 3 stacks if you're lucky. And of course, if you dodge roll, you get a speed bonus for 4 seconds. Just bear in mind, don't dodge roll too soon to a previous dodge roll, because if you do, you're going to get penalized and it will cost you more. We are using nothing but heavy, medium armor. Nearly said heavy. In fact, I did. Don't worry about these. You can read through them on your own time. I'm not going to over-explain how medium armor works. Heavy and light both have benefits and negatives. Medium, your positives are active. If you don't actively play in the fight, you're going to be dead. So it's not just a buff to your flat stats. You need to pay attention to those. But all these are required. This will increase your crit per piece. This will increase your recovery and reduction to cost. This will increase your sneak and your reduction to detection radius and all that good stuff. This will increase your weapon damage, and this will increase your movement speed and reduction to dodge roll cost. All of these are very, very important, and each piece of medium armor will increase their performance. Now, we are, of course, using the Undaunted passives. You are going to want these. If you take a synergy, you get resources back. Take every single one you can see. If you pick one up and it does damage, great. If it heals, great. Whatever it does, great. But you'll get this as well. And of course, although we're only using one type of armor, we still want the 2% resources across the board. If you wore different types, of course, you'd have extra bonuses, but we can't because all the stuff we're wearing is medium. We're an orc. Surprise, surprise. We are a brawler. We are getting into the fight, swinging a bloody great... I was going to say axe, but it's a sword. It's just hidden as an axe. It's a costume. But anyway, we're swinging a huge weapon, and we want to be able to hit hard, hit fast, move fast, and survive. And that's exactly what an orc does. Big stamina, big health, heal for doing damage once every 4 seconds, very brawler-esque. And of course, we are wicked quick with high weapon and spell damage. So everything you need is right there. If you want to change your race, go nuts. It's not going to break the build, but this one does support it very, very well. And of course, medicinal use. This is incredibly important. Potions should be used all the time. If it's sitting there and available, pop it while you're in combat. If it's grayed out, obviously you can't. If it's available, use it again. With this bonus, you'll have 100% uptime. 45-second cooldown, but 47-second time duration. So you can never ever run out of those nice buffs and bonuses as long as you constantly maintain them. Don't just use them when they're low, because that's not how you use them. They're consumable buffs. Don't let them run out. Now, of course, we're going to get into the gear. There are a couple of different options here. So I'm going to show you two very different sets that are surprisingly very, very similar, but it depends on you as a player, what you have access to, and where you are in the game. So, first of all, Master's Sword or Maul, whichever one you've chosen based on the passives that I explained earlier. Make sure it's imprecise, and you've got poisons here. Remember, with the ultimate running, we've actually got 6 damage over time effects every second. This adds 2 more. So you can apply 8 ticks in 1 second. So that's 16 in 2 seconds, and yes, you guessed it, that is 24 in 3. And we only need 20 stacks per target. That will make sense in a moment. So this, if you swing at the target with Carve, this is why in big area of effect fights you can spam that ability. Each target will increase the strength of that initial hit by 1550. This can get incredibly powerful. When you're sitting there in a fight and there's maybe 2 or 3 enemies, of course you want to make sure that you carve to start with and maintain your Recon Blows on a single target. But if you've got more than 4, you want to be spamming Carve over and over and over, and you can forget Recon Blow entirely, because this gets ridiculously strong. You can use the normal version, you just won't get the penetration bonus. So it's up to you. You can go on the normal version of Dragonstar Arena and get the basic weapon and still perform very, very well, but you won't have that pen bonus. The back bar, you want the Maelstrom weapon. Again, you can go perfected or normal. In fact, normal will probably be easier for you to acquire if you're not used to Maelstrom anyway. And the crit bonus is only while we're on that bar, so that doesn't actually matter that much. It's a nice bonus, but if you're not sitting on the bar forever and you are maintaining your resources and your rotation properly, then you're not really going to see the benefit. So if you've got perfected, nice. If you haven't, it's not the end of the world. You'll probably perform about the same. Anyway, volley is stronger with this. Don't let it run out. Yes, it carries over. Now, the glyph on this is, of course, weapon and spell damage increase. Volley will constantly keep that running. So you want to make sure it's infused, so it's stronger and high duration. Now, the reason we want so many dot ticks is for this. Weapon crit, stamina, and stam recovery, which is very nice. But when you deal damage over time to a target, it counts 1 tick. When you do it again, it counts 2 ticks, and so on and so forth, up to 20. Now, we want to make those stacks happen quickly, because when they do, this will go boom. And all surrounding targets will get hit by that as well. And although it's got a 2-second cooldown, that's per target. You can hit multiple targets, each with their own individual tick counter, each with their own individual cooldown. So if you put multiple damage over times on the ground, each individual target is stacking and stacking and stacking. Each one will explode, and each one will hit each other. So single target, if you were, say, hitting a set amount of damage, obviously that's as far as you can go with it based on buffs and bonuses, but every single ad that you introduce to that part of the fight, whether it's a standing ad or an orb or a big axe on the last boss in Arthurian Archive, whatever it is, if it's another target, that's effectively another bomb hitting your single target, making your single target go up. It's very, very strong. Now here you can see it's looking at 10k bursts. It scales off of your weapon and spell damage. So if we boost that with our buffs, let's use the dummy actually. So we've got this bonus here. There we go. And we'll keep this running. Even now, that's sitting on 15.9. Fully trial buffed, pen bonuses, all that kind of stuff. This can actually hit actively in excess of 22 to 23k. Maybe sometimes even more, depending on minor and major berserk and such. It's very, very powerful, but you have to spec into weapon damage to benefit from it. So while people said before that this was nerfed, it was not. It was just altered so that if you deliberately push those stats, it's stronger. Now, as you can see here, 20 stacks, 2 seconds down, stack the stacks again. We can do that very, very fast, especially in an area of effect. But if you have someone else in your group using this as well, don't stack too many of them because it's a negative. Then, of course, their stacks contribute to your stacks. So if you have 10 stacks in a second, which we don't, but just for argument's sake, if you did, and they do 2, that's 1 explosion in 1 second, 2-second cooldown, bang, go again. That's an explosion every 3. On average, if you've got 2 people using this, you'll see an explosion every 4 seconds, but it's very, very strong. And it's a street sweeper when it comes to ad pulls. And in trials and dungeons, ads are what take the most time. If you take 3 minutes less per ad pull, but you take 1 minute longer on the boss, you're ahead. Very nice indeed. Now, the other supporting set you want for this is also another damage over time ability. So when we said 8 earlier, we've actually got 9. So that's single target, not area of effect. This, however, Aegis Caller, comes from Unhallowed Grave, and this spawns an air atronach that spins and spins and spins and does bleed damage and area of effect every single second. This is damage over time. This contributes to the stacks in AOE. Very nice indeed. Divines on everything if you can get it. Doesn't matter which order the set is in because everything here is medium. But jewelry, you want weapon damage with Infused and weapon damage twice with Bloodthirsty. Now, the other set, if you want to push for serious single target instead, but still benefit from that AoE burst, but not quite as aggressive, then of course you want to swap this out for Reliquin if you can get hold of it. You don't have to have Perfected, it only gives you 1k extra stamina, but if you can get it, great. If not, use the normal one from the normal version of Cloud Rest. Cloud Rest, by the way, is on my channel. You can go and check out the guide. It's also on the add-on if you're on PC. This will stack wins on single target, and as long as you maintain your light attacks, they will keep going and going and going and get very, very strong. Overall, the 2 different setups, Reliquin did perform about 8k more DPS single target, but when you get to a big, big ad pull and multiple enemies start getting hit with Carve and you're spamming those explosions, then Azure Blight and Aegis Caller start making a little bit of a difference. So a single target fight, Reliquin is going to outperform. A big ad pull fight, this can actually meet it in the middle. The difference is on single, but in big ad pulls, it's a no-brainer. It's very, very strong. Not to mention, of course, if you apply this and run away, it will still stand there spinning. If you apply Reliquin and run away, then, of course, your stacks fall off and you lose a massive amount of damage. Some people can't use it. If you can't use it, practice or take it off and just stick with this one. Now, champion points. These are quite simple. Green tree is irrelevant. These are all quality of life. Use them in your own time. Entirely up to you. There's no right or wrong for this. But when it comes to the blue tree, this is where you get these light ones here, which are passives. They're inevitable. You will be able to unlock them very early on, and it will give you a nice flat bonuses to your character. You've got some pen bonuses and status effect bonuses here. You've got some resistance in here, and you've got some flat stats and crit. But the most important things is your slottables, or are your slottables. Check your English out. And you want to make sure you get the ones that benefit your build. So if you're behind the target with this one, obviously you want to unlock your crit bonus here for 10 points. You can get that very early on. And of course, you want to unlock your pen bonus for 10 points here. That will unlock this area. Get Backstabber and Fighting Finesse if you are behind the target. If you're not behind the target, you want to dump this. No Backstabber. And replace it with Biting Aura for more area of effect. Also, you might just want that anyway because big ad pulls when you're always in the front. More aggressive Azure Blight explosions. The other 2 that you want to have all the time is Deadly Aim and Master at Arms. You want to make sure that your single target is actually on point because you are doing light attacks, which are very, very powerful and buffed with our setup as well. We are hitting a single target spammable, and of course, that is going to help you, and it does. It performed very, very well. And Master at Arms does increase all of your direct damage. So while this increases your area of effect, which we have an abundance of, this actually also supports that if it's direct. So if you're spamming Carve with the Master's Weapon, this will boost it because it is a direct hit. The damage over time bleed is afterwards. The direct hit is what you want. So these two with these two is what you want to push towards. But again, if you're not behind the target, pretty much most of the time, you want this to go with those instead. Now, if you felt like it, if you're the one getting all the kills all the time, you can, of course, switch to Occult Overlord, or Overload even, which does Oblivion damage every time something dies in mass area of effect. That supports the Azure Blight set to hell and back. The choice is yours. Either stick to this or slightly alter it. But it's inevitable. 10 points here, 10 points here. Stack your 4 slottables. Buy whatever else you want afterwards. There's no... you must have 3,600 champion points to be able to play this. You don't need anywhere near that. Way, way before that. Get your slottables as soon as you can. Even if they're not even fully leveled. And here, we don't really have a path here as far as unlocks are concerned for these 3. But get these. More health. More armor. More recovery. Very simple, very flat. Get those very early on. And this one you will need to unlock a path for. 15 in here. 10 in here. 10 in here. I would finish this one because it's a health bonus. But once you've done that, you will then get this. You will get 300 stamina back per stage, so a maximum of 1500 once it's level 50, or 50 points in it, every time you get a kill. So, mass adds, big booms, you get all the kills, can't run out of stamina. Godsend. Absolutely amazing. Now the really complicated but not that complicated part, the rotation. So, make sure your crit surge is running, because you obviously want to heal from your kills, or your hits even. Make sure your beast trap is down, and start from the back bar. Cast Volley, or Endless Hail even. Light Attack, Hurricane, Light Attack, Soul Trap, swap bars. So again, Volley, Light, Hurricane, Light, Soul Trap, swap. Now while you're on the front bar, it's very easy. Light Attack, Carve. Then, Light Attack, Wreck and Blow. One after the other, after the other, after the other. 5 times. Light Attack, Beast Trap, swap bars. And repeat. Repeat that all day. You never need to change it. However, if you are in a massive area of effect situation, we don't need the channel spammable. We need the insta-spammable instead. So it would be Volley, Light Hurricane, Light Soul Trap, exactly the same as before. When you get to the front bar, it's Light Attack Carve 8 times. So you just literally spam this in area of effect. Then Light Attack, Beast Trap, swap, start again. Now, if you are quite slow with your rotations and you don't really animation cancel your light and heavy attacks or your light attacks and skills smoothly, there's a video in my beginner series for that, by the way. Then, of course, you don't want 8. You probably want about 6. But if you can maintain it, you will get a lot of damage out. Now, what do we do if we're using bound armaments? Well, that is very, very simple, but you're going to have to also maintain this. Remember, these are static rotations. This needs to be active. Every light attack, we'll show here, will make a dagger appear above your head. As you can see here, we've got 4. Now, when you activate it, it will fire them. So we're going to be weaving light attacks in our rotation anyway, so you want to make that line up. So what we do is, once we get to the front bar, you should have them already stacked up anyway, because you've done this stuff, and light attack, hit, light attack, hit. And once you do, you want to light attack, fire your daggers. Then, light carve, light carve, light carve, light daggers again. Light carve, light carve, light carve, light daggers again, light beast trap swap. That's the variant. Now, if you're not using carve all the time and it is a single target fight, you're going to want to change it. You're going to want to make sure you light daggers, light carve once, then 2 wreck and blows with light attacks. 1, 2, then, that was 3 actually. Then you want the daggers, then 2 more. 1, 2, and daggers again. Most of the time, yes, we're firing 3 instead of 4, but it will still count, and it will maintain your resources as well. If you can get a 3rd wreck and blow in per cast, then fair enough, but you might find that your volley runs out too soon, and that can be a problem. So, when you're using bound armaments, it's literally daggers first, then light 3 carves, or light 2 wreck and blows, then fire daggers again. Simple as that. Now, to see what this looks like, don't worry, the rotation will be on the website as well. To see what this looks like in its basic form, because we've got loads of ads here, all we need to do is spam carve, nice and simple. We're not going to bother with the daggers, because stuff the daggers. We just keep it for the buff. This is what it will look like. We'll also make sure we've got negate bubble on as well, because negate bubble's mega. Yes, you can swap it from the front. Actually, we'll put it on the back. There we go. We'll get a buff from the dummy, so we've just got some nice stats. And I want you to look at the combat metrics in the top left-hand corner. And spam. Here goes the booms. Beast swap, volley, hurricane, soul trap, spam. How easy is that? I don't have my my potions running, so I'm lacking crits and all the rest of it because I ran out of potions. But that's quite straightforward. And that's all you have to do. Now, obviously, when the targets start going to low health, that's when you want to change things up a little bit, and that's when you want to introduce your execute. Remember when I said 30%? Well, this dude here is about to hit 30, so now we're going to start executing him. And all the enemies are still being hit, but you want to introduce at least one carve every rotation just to keep that dot up. Swap to the front, one carve, kill them all. Execute, execute, over and over and over. The more enemies you have, the more damage you will do. It's as simple as that, and that one's already dead. I'm killing another one instead now. I'm just killing skeletons. Now, of course, if you've got buffs and bonuses from your group, or you're using Reliquin, for example, because that is more single target damage, he would have died a lot sooner, they would have got their executes a lot sooner, but you wouldn't have such faster ticks. You'd be one tick down in area of effect. Again, the choice is yours. With the Reliquin stuff, you're looking at about 400k area of effect rather than 300k area of effect, but you have to consider it depends on how evenly you want them to go down. With Aegis Caller, they're quite even. With Reliquin, they'll have a lot more health. Although you'll still hit them really, really hard. It's just your main target goes down quicker. Now, fashion. So, we are wearing some very obvious stuff here. Heavy Minotaur helmet, of course. Heavy Minotaur chest. Heavy Yukiden shoulders. Heavy Dromaphra hands, because of the shiny blue stuff. Belt doesn't matter because you can't see it. Heavy Minotaur legs. And, no, they're not Minotaur. Heavy Rogada feet. Just bear in mind, of course, the Minotaur motifs are bloody expensive. But you can get them from the Gold Coast dailies. The weapon is Malakath, of course, because we're a big chunky orc wearing a Minotaur helmet looking like we are from Sinbad. If you remember that movie, please comment about it because not many people do. And, of course, the back bar weapon is the Sigic Order bow. So we've got the blue stuff there to line up with the Dromaphra hands. How fashion-y are we? The colours are very simple. The black, you can use any black you want, really. There's not much to it, but of course this one is actually from Cyrodiil, but if you want to use a lower one from other easier to acquire achievements, then of course you can. And the gold is actually this one here, which is Colossus Brass for completing Halls of Fabrication. You don't need it done on Vet, you just need to complete it. Any yellow will do, but he's supposed to look like he's from the old school movies, if you know what they are. Anyway, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. Hopefully now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build. No, it's not designed to be a 100k hitter, single target, but if you bring those ads, it will. Anyway, if you're not subscribing, of course, please do hit that button. It is free. Make sure you hit the notification bell, and there's a join button there if you would like to see some behind-the-scenes stuff or just want some emotes for the chat. And of course, you can even clip parts of the video now, which might be quite helpful for you later. And if you want to help support outside the channel, there are links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website XynodeGaming.com. Instagram is also there and building quite heavily now. That's actually getting quite a few views. You can see my car if you want. That's quite shiny. And of course, don't forget I live stream every night on Twitch, apart from Wednesdays from 10 PM UK time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.